Welcome to the Voice of Putnam County Business. This is the podcast of the Putnam County Business Council, where we will be discussing all things related to Putnam County business climate and economic development in the county. We have Nick DeAndrea, General Manager of Park Ford. He is a director of the Putnam County Business Council, and also Nat Prentice of Prentice Investment Management, LLC. Nat is also the president of the Putnam County Business Council and also president of the Cold Spring Chamber of Commerce. We will welcome our host right after a brief message from our sponsor.
When Country Willow Furniture found people staying at home instead of furnishing their homes during the pandemic, the store worried about the loans that fueled their dramatic growth. But Tompkins Bank knew that solid relationships, like solid furniture, last far into the future. The value of a bank in your corner, the values of a bygone era. Tompkins gives you both, and the best banking relationship you'll ever have. Tompkins, your bank of choice. Find out more at tompkinsbank.com.
Welcome back to the Voice of Putnam County Business. Alongside myself right now is Nat Prentice. Nat, good to see you again, bud.
Nick, I've missed you terrible. I'm glad we're back in business.
Yeah, this is great. Glad to be back in here. Love the vault.
Yeah. Well, and we're pretty lucky today because our guest is Stephanie Hubert, who is the executive director of the Cornell Cooperative Extension. And given how tongue-twisting calling it the Cornell Cooperative Extension can be, we're going to call it the extension from this point on.
Yeah, that makes life a little easier. Stephanie, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me. What an honor to be here in the vault.
So, Stephanie, I think you get general agreement that not everybody knows as much about the extension as they should. Everybody's heard of it, including myself, but would you try to, in an informal manner, just summarize what the mission of the extension is?
Sure. Actually, I'd be happy to even...
And maybe give us a little history.
Sure. Well, first, let me just clarify. I think that the majority of the people are unaware of what the extension in Putnam County is, because often when people figure out who we are, they say to us, "Oh my God, I didn't know you existed. You're like the best kept secret." So that's flattering, but really the point is to get the general public involved in what we do. So extension, if you will, is more of like the People's College. Let's think of it that way, because we are the outreach for Cornell University. And so the arrangement that we have with Cornell is we utilize the research and the evidence-based product from the university, and we bring it to the people of Putnam County. So we take the research and we reformat it, and we provide programming and informal education opportunities for constituents in our county.
So it's you take the formal, the academia,
Correct.
And rewrap it.
Yes.
Or make it useful to people who are in what businesses primarily?
Everybody, the general public. We offer practical information about practically everything. That's kind of like one of our taglines. And if we don't know the answer, we act as a referral system as well. We'll find someone that knows the answer to whatever problem you have.
Most of it, as Nick's going to remind us, our business here is to talk to those listening to us.
Right.
Is a group of business owners in Putnam County, perhaps amongst others. And we promise them that our guests will help them do their business better, will in fact be able to grow their business. So we're in the trying to be a good leader for business leaders. So tell us a little bit more about the things you could do for local businesses.
Right. So if we're talking about local businesses generally, non-specific to the certain type of business, we can provide leadership opportunities. We can hook them up with professors or other individuals to help create a business plan. If they have insurance questions,
Really? So it's not just aggregates, because sometimes you think of the extension as something that has to do almost exclusively with agriculture, but it's bigger than that.
It is bigger than that, but to your point, extension started in the world of agriculture.
Right.
And so it was professors at the university making recommendations for what grains for farmers to feed their livestock, or what they could do for pest management. I mean, it's so much more than that now. It evolved into many, many tiers. And really, what we do is do a needs assessment of Putnam County and see where the deficits are. You know, we have program advisory committee members who are deep rooted in their community, and they come to us and say, you know, there's a need for this, or we're seeing that there could be more information to the general public on this. So we're ever changing with our plan of work and implementation plans. But to your previous question, much more than agriculture, we offer a very large youth development program for the youth of today, who will be our future leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah.
So before they even become leaders or business people in our community, we're teaching them the skills that will help them be successful. Most notably, our public presentation program, which is, yes,
You teach young people how to present?
yes, we do.
Oh, my
so
God.
important.
We could think, you and I could have used a little bit of that earlier on.
That's
Absolutely.
so important. I love to hear that.
It is. And, you know, youth as young as 5 years old, which is our youngest, we call them clover buds, all the way up until they age to 18, can participate on local, statewide levels of really public speaking programs.
I think that's fantastic, because I mean, straightforward, I got through most of my college career because I was a good presenter.
Yes.
So I would do group projects with people, and I would say, listen, you guys do the legwork. I'm going to present, because most people didn't want to present, and it's a big fear for a lot of young people. And it takes practice, it takes time, it takes, you know, some grooming to become a good presenter and a good public speaker. So I think it's fantastic that you're starting that at such a young age. And I don't know if it really gets taught in regular schooling the way it should be. So that's so awesome to hear.
And I had no idea, and I would guess that most people listening to us today probably wouldn't know that. Is that what you just described fit into, because I know you're in the 4-H business, which I've never really understood. I mean, I think I could get a couple of the H's, but I don't think I could get all. I don't think I could get all 4.
Let's see if I can.
But it strikes me as farm. That strikes me as as you know, how to take care of the cows.
4-H.
Yes.
Well, it started when Extension started in New York State in 1914. The 4-H was the component for the children of farmers at the homestead, and so they would teach skills to the young children to help the parents. You know, the farmers were working out in the fields. The wife or the mother would be practicing home economics, because she would be doing the budgeting for the household, the cooking, the cleaning, you know, being economic with their resources. And the youth were taught 4-H skills.
So I have a question, and I'm sure you would probably know the answer. I would assume that there is a lot more agriculture in Putnam County than most people are aware of.
That's a great question. And so I'll give you what I know to be true in Putnam County. Certainly decades ago, there were dairy farms and livestock farms. And in the traditional farming sense, it was more abundant in years ago. Currently, I would say between 85 and 90% of what's considered agriculture in Putnam County is equine. And most people don't associate horse farms, boarding, those types of opportunities as agriculture. We think more of produce and row farms and livestock. And they're slowly coming back as micro farms, but the vast majority is equine.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
So Stephanie, I know there's a lot of education that you're providing, but I understand that you're in the process of actually having a headquarters. Will you tell us about your project at the Tilly Foster Farm?
I would be happy to. Thank you for asking. Our current location is at the Kern Building in between Department of Motor Vehicles and the Health Department. And
That's in Brewster.
it's in Brewster, correct, off of International Way.
Mhm.
Oh, I see up there.
Yes.
You can't find your way up
Like
there.
Like Ace Endico over there.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yep.
Prior to Ace Endico, that's correct. And so when I was hired almost 6 years ago, I was charged with two things from the hiring committee and the board. The first was to make sure that we are in good fiscal standing. And the second was to get us a home at Tilly Foster.
Oh, so Tilly Foster was identified even as far back as that as the right place.
Absolutely. And to my understanding, when the county first took over Tilly Foster, there were discussions with my predecessor, and they had focus groups about moving to Tilly at that time. You know, sometimes the stars don't align properly, and for whatever the reason, it didn't happen. But as the years have gone by, we certainly have found the need more than anything to have control over our own area to provide programming. We're just in such a small space right now. We've grown leaps and bounds over the last decade or so that we need space to be able to produce quality programming for our participants. And so we put together with the board an idea to lease space from the county at Tilly Foster. And for those of you that are familiar with the buildings over there, we are going to replace the footprint of building number 6, or the old cantina, which the county generously raised for us in at the end of November last year. So we have a blank footprint, and we'll be building a 68 by 40 by 21 foot building, which will consist of the first floor, a community center for not only us to use for programming, but we're opening it up to all of Putnam County. So if a business wanted to do a retreat for their staff, they could utilize the first floor. If, you know,
Putnam County Business Council
wanted
wanted to have
exactly, they could utilize the first floor. So
Cool.
it will be very cool. We're going to outfit it with high-tech audio, visual, surround sound speakers. So it'll be a true lecture hall. It will be high-tech and formal and nice. So it reflects professional.
Right.
And our upstairs will be our administrative offices, as well as our diagnostic lab for our horticulture hotline, and all of our, you know, certainly our offices and storage.
So in the form of education, I mean, who are your educators? Are they people hired by the extension? Are they people that are volunteers? Like how do you go about finding the educators that are providing what you're teaching?
Great question. Both. So we have full-time paid staff like myself, and most of the positions that we hire individuals, because we have our toe in the world of academia, have to have bachelor's, most people master's degree, and are certainly then professionally skilled in very specific areas. And from the paid staff, we very often solicit volunteers and put them through a formal training, like the Master Gardeners. I don't know if you've heard of that group of volunteers. They do a lot of work in the county, but they are a group of volunteers that go through a 16-week training taught by not only our educators, but professors from the university, and they assist us multiply our outreach basically to be able to go into the community and help individuals with individuals and businesses with horticulture problems.
So you wouldn't, Nick, you wouldn't know this, but we have a nice library over on our side of the county called the Desmond Fish Public Library in Garrison, and had nothing to do with me, but the library hired, as I understand it, hired some part of the extension
We did
to help them develop a, what do you call those things? A pollinator
garden. That's correct.
Help me with understanding what a pollinator garden is. Sounds like the right thing to do, but why?
Why? Because if we don't provide native products, pollinating plants for our bees and our butterflies, it will not help the farming efforts. So we need pollinators
Yeah.
to be able to help with our gardens and farming.
Could you have a pollinator garden out in front of the dealership?
I mean, I don't see why not. I got some spaces. I got some space that I could lend out to some pollinators.
Yeah. Well, we would love it. There's a whole initiative in the Northeast called the Pollinator Pathway. And so we have a group of Master Gardener volunteers that work solely on that initiative. And part of it is getting out there to educate people about native pollinators, about bees, about appropriate plants to help pollinators thrive. And the thought process is to have a whole pathway up the Northeast where pollinators can travel and continue to do what they do best.
Can that be on someone's residential land as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have these little signs as part of the initiative that say something like, I support the pollinator pathway, that people have posted on their fences, on their mailboxes, that just it shows that they've taken the pledge to help preserve pollinators and add to the pathway up the northeastern coast.
I think this is so cool because I have recently gotten into gardening.
Oh, you're on your way to being a master gardener.
And when you get into gardening, if you love it, you love it. And it's like an addiction.
Right.
So like I went from a small little 8x4 garden last year to now a 36x36 garden that I'm just obsessed with every single day, every morning. I know you wouldn't expect it right now. So but I would have no idea that there's that initiative out there that I can even be involved in on a residential level.
Yes.
Which is so exciting to hear. So
yes, and if you have problems with your soil or bugs or anything like that, we have a hotline at our office where you can come and dial in and speak to an educated master gardener who will find answers for you.
That's the coolest thing. I'm so pumped about that.
You mentioned earlier that changing, I think you said changing demographics or changing profile of Putnam County. I think what you mean by that is a lot of people struggling that we didn't know about, particularly in the area of an adequate food supply.
That is
Talk a little bit, if you will, about your efforts in that area.
Sure. I would love to actually get the word out. So my background is nutrition and health. And so prior to coming to Putnam County, but still working in the extension system, I ran a regional program for SNAP Ed, which is the supplemental nutrition program, which used to be food stamps. And so I had educators from Sullivan down to Westchester and from Orange to Putnam who would go out into targeted communities and work with individuals who were struggling to put food on their table and help educate them on using their SNAP dollars to buy nutrient dense foods to feed their family. And so basically getting the most out of the food that you can purchase. And so we would educate them, we would bring them to the grocery store, we would do tours with them, and really culturally, appropriately help them use their dollars to buy the best food to feed their families. Because we all know that if you don't have food in your stomach when you wake up, you are not going to function to your ability.
Yeah.
So exactly. So in my time working regionally, I wrote a $5.5 million grant to bring money to the region for that specifically, really nutrition education and obesity prevention, because with nutrition education, we want to decrease chronic diseases. I mean, they certainly are becoming more and more prevalent. People suffering from diabetes, obesity in general, high blood pressure, cholesterol, all of that. So the better we take care of ourselves, the healthier we'll be in the long run.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
Continue.
please go ahead.
So I'm just jumping in because actually literally yesterday I got in the mail. I got this book called The Lost Book of Natural Remedies.
Mhm.
And it blew my mind how many different herbs are out there, or
Mhm.
plants that you can grow inside and outside that can help with so many different medical issues that people have.
Mhm.
So like that just spikes my interest, because talking about health and talking about your nutrition,
Mhm.
what you're putting in your body is what you're going to get out of it, right?
Exactly.
And I think it's fantastic that there's even somebody to help guide somebody
Mhm.
in that kind of format.
Right. No, it's been very, very successful. But go ahead.
Well, I'm just counting up the number of things that the extension does.
Yeah.
I mean, you've talked about business planning, you've talked about youth leadership and
Mhm.
training, you've talked about environmental horticulture, if you will.
Absolutely.
And you've talked about food, nutrition, and safety. My gosh, I mean, this is how big a group, how big is the
Yeah.
staff
We're
of
a
the,
small staff. We really are.
we got all those professors.
Right.
But,
Well, exactly. But are you,
no, I
in
meant
Putnam,
you. I meant
in
your staff.
Putnam, in our county, that work for Putnam specifically, we have 8 staff.
Only,
Yes.
wow, that means you work pretty hard, so.
Right then, huh?
Yes. Yeah, like everybody else, we work more for less. You don't go into working for extension to get rich. Let's just say that. You do it for the love of education, and that's why I've done it. In my 30-year tenure of education, working in the education field, this will be it's my 19th year. Next year will be 20 years working for extension, and I worked in a school district for 10 years before that.
You're dedicated, awfully dedicated. Make sure that our listeners understand the plan for the new headquarters.
Sure.
You've financed a portion of it, but you
That's
have some more to
correct.
go.
We sure
And
do.
what's the plan for completion? How does that sound?
We'd like to break ground in September. So we're just waiting to tidy up some of our plans and get ready to go. We've already established a relationship with a builder, and the architects are doing some final drawings and making some corrections. And you're right, we've reached our initial goal for phase 1. We have collected about $445,000, which is enough to pay for the shell part of the building. And we've kicked off for our phase 2, which is roughly another $450,000 to $500,000.
Get done by September.
No, we'll break ground in September.
I see, yes.
Yes.
You collect the money for a year,
Yes,
for a while thereafter.
Yes, because phase 2 will be for the build out. It will be furnishing the community center with the audio visual. It will be putting in the kitchenette part in the day. It'll be furnishing the upstairs for our diagnostic lab and things of that nature.
And is it something that you guys run fundraising efforts for to try to help support the dollars that you need for that?
Yes, we've had a formal capital campaign for the last 2 years.
Okay.
To raise money specifically for the building.
Gotcha.
Oh, Stephanie, we've really been delighted to have you. I believe that the information gap that may exist around the extension has been narrowed considerably. So I certainly have been, I won't speak for Nick, but for me, I've learned some things about what the Cornell Cooperative Extension, led by Stephanie Hubert, have been doing and what your plans are. And we, the Business Council, understand the role you could play for business leaders. Now I do, I think.
Okay.
And we'll try to help you with everything you're working on, including, although we're not a fundraising particularly organization, but we are an awareness growing organization, and we can help you pass that word, and people will have listened to you.
Well, we appreciate any assistance that we get. You know, I'm just grateful that you're allowing me to come in and tell all about cooperative extension. You know, my goal before I leave and retire is to not have Cornell be the best kept secret. We want everybody to know what cooperative extension does.
We're going to help, aren't we, Nick?
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm gonna help on a personal level because I'm really excited about this. I didn't know before coming into this room. So that's really awesome to hear. And I think that there's probably a lot of people out there that would be way more interested than we might think in what you guys do. So I think it's just a matter of getting people to know you.
That would be great.
We're just about to close up, but is there something else that you would want to say that you haven't?
No, I guess that for anybody who's interested at all about what we do, I would encourage them to visit our website, which is cceputnam.org. So it's cceputnam. Nope.
No, just
cceputnam.org.
Yeah.
They
Sounds pretty easy.
Yeah.
I can remember that.
They can stop by our current location, which is at 1 Geneva Road in Brewster. So up off of International, right next to the health department and DMV, or give us a call at 845-278-6738.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And we'll ask you back in a couple of years' time and see how you've been doing.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Way to go. Stephanie, way to go.
Good.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Voice of Putnam County Business. Let's hear a word from our sponsor. Thanks for tuning in to the Voice of Putnam County Business, brought to you by Putnam County Business Council. We are sponsored today by the Promenade on 6. Promenade on 6 is a small business hub that is set in an industrial, modern, contemporary space that is proudly showcasing all different kinds of small businesses. You have to check it out. Go to promenadeon6.com and you will get an idea of what Promenade on 6 is. And also brought to you by Park Ford. Park Ford is located right on Route 6 in Mayapack. If you are interested in purchasing a vehicle, you're going to reach out to Nick D'Andrea, 914-774-0036. But I can tell you that I have personally bought and sold, I think, about 5 vehicles with Park Ford. In fact, I have bought cars that are not Fords through them just for the fact that I don't want to deal with any other service department. These guys are world class, whether it comes to buying and selling vehicles or getting your vehicles serviced. Park Ford.